Four friends are paying the same amount of money for a field trip. The table below shows the portions of their shares each friend has already paid. Who has paid the most? So apparently these guys have to pay 50, $100 or whatever. But whoever's taking the money is allowed them to pay a little bit at a time. This one person has paid 11/20. This person right here has paid 50%. This person right here has paid 0.525, and this person has paid 51/100ths. So the easiest thing for you to do is to convert all of these to a single type. You can either convert them to all to a fraction, to a decimal, or a percent. And it doesn't matter which one you prefer to do. Okay. Now for me, I like on something like this, I want to convert everything to a decimal, which is like this. So this one's already done, 0.525. 50% is very easy. We just got to move the decimal place over twice. That makes that 0.5. Now luckily for us, we have one here that's over 100 already. Okay, and anytime if you divide 51 by 100, you're going to end up, and basically you would put 51 inside the house and 100 outside of it. Put your decimal point right there. 100 will go into 510 5 times without going over. That makes that 500 with a remainder of 10, and then that'll go in there once. But basically that's 0.51. And here we've got kind of a crazy looking fraction. Now you can put this up, make this over 100 if you want to. How did I get from 20 to 100? Well, I multiplied by 5, so I'd have to do the same thing at the top, which makes that 55 over 100, which is the same thing as 0.55. So the question is asking us who has so far paid the most. It's 0.55, Angel. Now you can also get 0.55 out of 11 over 20 by dividing 11 by 20, moving your decimal place up right there and adding a few zeros. Okay, 20 will go into 110 5 times without going over. That makes that 100. That leaves us with 10. And 100. 20 will go into 105 times. Okay. Which fraction is greater than 2/3 but less than 3/4? So you got to find a fraction or one of these numbers that's between there. Well, again, it's very, very difficult for us to compare fractions that don't have the same denominator. So you can do one of two things with something like this. You can find a common denominator between all of these, or a much easier choice might be just to divide the top by the bottom and get a decimal, and then do the same for all these. Now this is a very, very detailed problem. You have several different things you'd have to do, and I'll just do the 2/3 for you, then I'll do all the other ones. I'll let you do the math. This is the equivalent, remember, of 2 divided by 3. Well, remember, we need to use our decimal places. 3 will go into 20 6 times without going over. It leaves us with 18, 2, 0, 6, 18, 2, bring down the 0, and 6. So this is 6, 6, 6, 6 infinity. Okay? So I need to find a number that's between 0.666 and 3 over 4, which if we do the same process, just take my word for it, is 0.75. Well, now unfortunately, we still have to convert all of these. And if we do the same process, and we don't have time to do it all right here, but I'll let you do it on your own. 3 over 8 is the same thing as 0.375. Is 0.375 between 0.66 and 0.75? No, it's not. 4 over 5 is the same thing as 0.8. 0.8 does not fit in between here. 0.8 is greater. It goes out here somewhere. So that is not a good choice either. 5 over 6. Okay, 5 over 6. That is, and I've got to remember the math on this myself. looks like it's 0.4. I'm sorry, 8. That's an 8 there, excuse me. 0.83333 and so on. That will not fit in between there. That is greater, 0.833 and so on. 7 over 10. Now, anytime you have anything over 10 like this, all you've got to do is say, hey, this is 0.7. And that is between there. It's choice D. Visited a cousin in Alaska for 5 days in October. She recorded the minimum daily temperatures for each day, which shows these temperatures in order from the least temperature to the greatest temperature. Okay. Now, when we're dealing with a negative, the greater the number looks, the smaller it is actually. The further this is from zero. The smallest number here, the coldest temperature, is right here. So this is 1 of the coldest. The second coldest temperature is going to be right here. The third is right here. The fourth, this is right here. And then the fifth is going to be right here. So we have to find which one looks like that. Which one starts right here? Okay, well obviously these two are not the choice. Now you have to be careful. That looks like a smaller number, but it's not. 9 and 2 over 5, or 9 and 2/5 is actually a smaller number. Then the next number is -4 degrees. That is choice D. You have to understand your rational numbers, and you have to understand which one of these is smaller. This is the smallest number. This is the furthest from zero. This is the second furthest from zero. This is the third furthest from zero on the negative side. Then we're just dealing with positives. Next in order is going to be 6 and 4/5. Next is going to be 14. That is choice D. Number 18. Which set of numbers below is ordered from greatest to least? Well, I'll just save you a little bit of time. 1/8, if you divide it out like so, is 0.125. And then remember, 13% is not 13. You have to move that decimal place over to where it's 0.13. So we have 3 numbers here that we're dealing with in all these. You have 0.13, you have 0.12, and you have 0.125. Well, let's put these in order from greatest, 0.13, 0.125, 0.12. Which one of these shows that? Well, we've got 13%. We've got 0.125 here and 1 over 8, and then 0.12. The choice is C. You have to be able to convert your percentages to decimals, which is just moving the decimal place over twice to the left. And in order to convert a fraction to a decimal, you have to divide the top number by the bottom. Top dog goes in the house, just like right here. What is the value of this expression? Here we have the absolute value of this right here. Well, first of all, we have to figure out what is inside. And then whatever it is, we have to figure out the absolute value of that. Well, we have an expression inside here. Well, luckily for us, we are dealing with addition. So we go back to our old song, our addition song. Same signs, add and keep, different signs, subtract. Take the sign of the furthest number, then you'll be exact. Well, these are the same signs. So all we're going to do is just add 7 plus 1, which is 8. Take the sign of the furthest number, which in this case is 7. That'll be -8. So we're left with the absolute value of -8. Well, the absolute value of anything, unless there's a minus sign out here or an opposite sign, the absolute value of anything is going to be its opposite. Sorry, it's going to be the distance from 0. In this case, the answer is 8. Choice D. 20. The lowest recorded temperature in Georgia is -17 degrees below 0. Or 17 degrees below 0. The lowest recorded temperature in Florida is 15 degrees warmer. What is the lowest recorded temperature in Florida? So I'm starting out with a -17. On a number line, if I'm here at -17, and here I got 0, and I got, -1, -2, and so on. What this basically saying is the temperature in Florida is 15 degrees warmer or this way, 15 this way. So you can either draw yourself a number line and count 15 places over here to the -2, or you can say, since we're dealing with temperature, and if you can remember our number lines that we put up on the board, 15 degrees warmer, doesn't that indicate plus 15? Okay. Now either in your head you can imagine, well, if it's -17 degrees outside and we add 15, we're going to be at -2. Or you can apply your song here. The addition, remember it's only addition that this song applies. Same signs, add and keep different signs. Subtract, we got a negative and a positive here, so we're going to subtract. 17 minus 15 is 2. Take the sign of the furthest number, which is 17, in other words, the number furthest from 0. We've got -2. Number 21. Andre uses 3/4 of a teaspoon of brown sugar and 3/8 a teaspoon of white sugar in a recipe. How much sugar does Andre use in all? Well, how much sugar does Andre use in all means we got to add up this amount and this amount. This is 3/8 plus 3/4. Well, if we were multiplying, it'd be different, but we can't just add straight across. We don't have the same denominators. Okay, we have to have the same denominators. Our least common denominator, it looks like it's going to be 8. Okay, so we're left with 3/8 over something over 8. You have to ask yourself, how do I get from 4 to 8? Well, don't I multiply that by 2 to get 8? Well, then if I multiply the bottom by 2, I have to do the exact same thing to the top. And that's going to equal 6/8. And now we just add straight across. We're left with 9/8. Well, this is not the answer. Okay? Now be careful. You're going to see 8/9, and you're going to be tempted to pick that, but that is not it. 9/8 is what we call an improper fraction, and we have to change that to a mixed number. How many times will 8 go into 9 without going over? It'll go in once. Our remainder is 1, and we keep the same denominator. So it's 1 1/8. So for example, 9 goes in the house. 8's outside. It'll go in there once without going over. Minus 1 equals 1. That's our remainder. Our remainder goes up here. Our old denominator stays right there, and our choice is C. Sharon's house, the library, and Lisa's house are all on a straight road. This is one of those examples where you need to draw yourself a picture. Sharon would have to ride her bike 1 3/5 miles to get from her house, we'll draw her house right here, Sharon's house, to the library. This is 1 3/5, the distance between here and here. And another 2 3/4 miles to get from the library, which is here, to Lisa's house. Two and 3/4. How far does Sharon live from Lisa? Well, if it's 1 3/5 miles between Sharon's house and the library, and then 2 3/4 miles between the library and Lisa's house, if we want to figure out the distance between here and here, we would just add. So if this were 2 and this were 3, we would just say, well, that equals 5. Well, it's not that simple because we're dealing with mixed numbers here. So the easiest thing for one to do is to convert these back to improper fractions and add, and then convert those back, to mixed numbers again. Well, in order to get this into a mixed number, we have to say 5 times 1, which is 5, plus 3 is 8 over 5 plus, and we do the same thing over here. 4 times 2 is 8, plus 3 is 11 over 4. Well, we can't just add straight across here. We have to find the least common denominator, which in this case is 20. 20, 20. Well, we have to ask ourselves, how do I go from 5 to 20? I have to multiply by 4 to get that. Well, if I multiply by 4 there, I've got to multiply by 4 here. This is going to be 32. How do I get from 4 to 20? I multiply by 5. I do the same thing here. It's going to leave me with 20, of course, and then that's going to be 11 times 5 is 55. And then I'm just going to add across the top now. That's going to be 87 over 20. Well, guys, I'm still not done. Okay, now I've got an improper fraction. I've got to convert that guy to a mixed number. And how I do that is the same way I've been doing. 87 goes in the house. 20 goes out here. I need to find the remainder. 20 will go into 87 4 times without going over. I bring my 80 down here because 4 times 20 is 80. Have a remainder of 7. So I've got 4. Then a remainder of 7, which goes on top. And then my denominator, which was 20. The answer is C. More to come.